Congratulations on the new contract. Was that an easy or straightforward decision to make?
Yes and no. I think it's very important, obviously, that you choose wisely. I enjoy plenty of aspects in La Rochelle. There are many challenges within the club as well, Sinead. So, and there was, I suppose, other opportunities to go elsewhere. But the other point of it is I had another year in my contract as well. So I'm old school in that regard. I think it's important if you give your word and you sign a contract, you commit to that. So in terms of what's ahead, that's very exciting, but it's for post-summer. As I said to you in previous conversations, there's a big semi-final this weekend and there's a good buzz around the town, even though we don't see many people, but the people we see, you can get that sense that it means something to the locals. And that was probably one of the big things that appealed to me day one. I kind of, when I played here, I coached here with Racing. I was here as a player in 2010. They have great supporters, and it reminded me of Munster when we started that journey with the supporters. That's very important too, to have that, I suppose, that interest from people that it is a big rugby town, and I like that.
You mentioned there you'd other opportunities. Were they from Ireland?
No. Now, to be fair to Munster, I have chatted to a few members of the staff, not of the current staff, but in the organisation over the last 20 years. And it's a club that I have huge time for, obviously. But I suppose where I'm looking at it now from the outside, it looks very different. And I think it's important for me that I get as much experience and get as much enjoyment out of the game. So that wasn't an option to go to an Irish team, but that works both ways. I didn't show any interest either, Sinead, so you can't say that approaches weren't made. I think it's very easy. I have a good relationship with both. Andy Farrell and Johan van Graham and people in Munster. So, there's no hard feelings either way. It works both ways.
Do the RFU keep in touch with you?
People within the RFU, yeah. I obviously very friendly with Paul O'Connell. I'm very friendly with Simon Easterby, and I discuss rugby with Andy Farrell. There's a lot of players there that I play with Johnny, Connor, Earlsey, Peter O'Mahony, CJ Stander, Devin Toner, players like that, like Furlong. So I know these guys inside out. I like these guys, and I'm transitioned and I'm finished probably my learning stage as a coach. Now I'm implementing what I want to do, but I'm only in its infancy at that stage, so I enjoy it, and it's very exciting where I am now. So in terms of the decision to sign on, it just made a lot of sense.
Actually, asked Devin Toner, his career kind of crossovered with the end of your career when you finished up ahead of this weekend's game. When it comes to games like this, Ronan, players would say, oh, it's like any other game. But it's not really this weekend, you facing Leinster. What's your sense leading up to this week?
Yeah, it isn't like another game because it's, as you say, the competition is new. I was looking at a little bit of, I suppose, the history of the competition, and La Rochelle have played very few games in Champions Cups, and Leinster have been the most dominant team in the last 10 years and the most performing team. So a lot of that evidence would suggest that Leinster would come out on top. But we know history doesn't work like that, and sport doesn't work like that. So I'd like to think we're starting our journey. Leinster are well along their way, an established high-performing environment, but that doesn't make it any difference when the ball is kicked off. It's 15 that go hard against 15, and it'll be obviously substitutions will be important. I think the weather will be great. It'll be hot. It'll be demanding, but that's why we want to play rugby, because on a good day, your skill levels obviously get tested, because I think the sweat will become an issue at the weekend in terms of probably handling the ball and But thankfully, it's not the rain or the wind that we're talking about, and it should make for a very good game because where Leinster have an advantage on us in the fact that they'll be very patient and they have massive trust in their game plan. I think we probably have maybe an edge in terms of the excitement of our players. So in terms of what they can do with the ball. So there are loads of subplots all over the pitch, and it'll be played out, thankfully, on the pitch, and people will give their opinion thereafter.
Robin McBride intimated earlier this week that they're going to try and increase the ball in play time. Essentially, maybe they're going to try and run you off your feet, as it were. Is that a concern to you?
No, because there's loads of data out there at the minute and all the evidence is there. That's one of the fastest moving parts in rugby, the amount of data available, and obviously with the advances in GPS and technology, us as coaches, as rugby coaches, but also in probably, I suppose, elite performance. And there's fascinating, I suppose, a lot of studies that are coming, and we're all over stuff like that in terms of trying to not alone keep up with it, but try and gain an edge on other teams, and it's something where those 1%ers do matter. I think the ball and play time in France over the years has been slower than a Champions Cup game, but in the last 24 months, data would suggest that it's greatly reduced.
We know the calibre of player Leinster have to execute the game plan. We also know the calibre of coaches they have: Stuart Lancaster, Leo Cullen, obviously Felipe Contepomi. Is this your biggest challenge tactically when you come up against a team of coaches like that, yourself and Jono?
I don't think so, Sinead, because I've always been of the opinion that means that my team are absolutely highly performing, that we can look at the opposition with such a degree of interest. We're not at that stage, far from it, where we are in our development as a team, as an organisation, as a high performing team. So, I think, and I've been in rugby, whatever, for 20 odd years, I suppose, 25 years, and I'm absolutely convinced if our team get ourselves right, there's a fair chance that we'll be hugely performing, which actually usually leads to a result. It can't guarantee a result, but like myself and Johnny, we don't talk about beating Leinster. We talk about actually, can we get our team performing? And to get our team performing, there's an awful lot of elements that you need to get right for that to happen, irrespective of what opposition it is, because sometimes people drop balls and it has nothing to do with the opposition. So there are so many, I suppose, factors that combine into that. But we know Stuart Lancaster is an exceptional coach, and because he's an exceptional coach because he's had plenty of failures. And I suppose my coaching career hasn't hit the rocks yet in that regard, and that will happen. But that doesn't install fear in me. I think one of the good learnings I'm finding at the minute is that you need to, the minute fear comes in anywhere, you're going to have problems. So my recipe for Sunday will be, yes, it is a European Cup semi-final, and I'd be thinking the exact opposite as I was as a player, where I was crippled with anxiety and self-doubt and wondering how this will go. I'm at a stage where I actually think we've prepared well. I can sleep with that, and I'm looking forward to Sunday genuinely, which is probably a brave comment to say.
Sound very like Pep Guardiola before their game, and last night he was so relaxed. Well, okay, two quick final ones, Ronan. No Johnny Sexton obviously this weekend. Do you think the gap anyway, particularly in a Leinster environment, is closing between himself and Ross Byrne, because Ross Byrne is likely to start now on Sunday?
Yes and no. My wife reminded me that it was probably a good thing that Johnny doesn't play, because we have a lot of time for Johnny and he becomes very good, she said, in semi-finals and finals. and we had a good laugh about that. There's no doubt someone like him will be missed. I think you have to acknowledge that. It's a loss to Leinster. It's a loss to any team, if you ask me, irrespective of of his age, because he's still a warrior, he's still a competitor, and that burns deep inside him. So you take that out of it, and I think, you know what I mean, and you know from commenting in studio that Ross Byrne is a very, very good player, and I think the big difference, I suppose, for him when he plays for Ireland and when he plays for Leinster is that all his Leinster teammates have huge faith in him, huge trust in him, and he has got Leinster over the line, particularly coming in at 14-0 against Exeter. He showed what a class player he was, what a great game manager he is, and I think how patient he is, and how I think good he is at reading the game, which is an underappreciated skill and a good 10. So in that regard, I mean, he's played the last 52 minutes of their game, and he's had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. And you could see in the Munster game that the eyes was on the La Rochelle game, unfortunately. So, you know, I mean, we're aware of that this is their big game, and he's always performing in the big games. So, you know, I mean, I hope he does well, but not too well, obviously.
And just finally, like you mentioned a lot in various places how you're on a different journey with La Rochelle compared to where Leinster are now, and you mentioned that earlier. Like, so is all the pressure on Leinster going into this one?
No, not at all. No, because I think, you know what I mean, I don't really, because of my past and how lucky I've been with this competition and the love I have for this competition, it means an awful lot. And if you care about something, you invest deeply in it and you want to get a great return out of it. So I think there's most definitely pressure on us, because you know what I mean, playing the semi-final isn't very interesting for me. I think we need to perform, and I'm hoping we will perform, but you can't guarantee that. But a lot of the, I suppose, the yardsticks up to now from this season have been positive, and we don't know our limit. The players don't know their limit, so why put a limit on it? Let's go for it.